My name is Hassan Akuete, and this is my Prototype 1 review of my virtual instrument gloves in November of 2025. I'm 18 years old. I'm a grade 12 student at the International School of Kenya, and my supervising teacher was Mache Sudra. And the problem that I'm trying to solve with this ISK Impacts project is that when I was traveling a few months ago, I figured out that I couldn't carry my oboe with me. This was a pretty significant issue. I need to practice my oboe every day to maintain my skill at it. And I realized that this is a common problem for many musicians. Their instruments can't be carried because it's too heavy or too large, or they have certain restrictions due to fragility or airline restrictions on the material. And it causes lack of skill or loss of skill because you're unable to practice for a week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever the case may be. And I wanted to figure out a way that I could solve this problem. I looked online and found some gloves called the Me Too instrument gloves, and I found some virtual instruments with VR, but none of these options seemed affordable or attainable for the average musician, and also many of them seemed to not actually mimic the instrument in question. It was simply a matter of choosing a finger to play a certain note and assigning that finger to that note forever. I wanted something that could mimic a variety of different instruments to ensure that each musician could play as though they were playing on the instrument without having to bring it with them. And so I wanted to create a mobile, easy-to-use device that's preferably affordable, that simulates my instrument. Originally I started with an oboe, but I also play the recorder. I decided to go with the recorder at first, the alto recorder, because it is an easier instrument to mimic using gloves, as there is only one function per finger, as opposed to the oboe, in which a finger can play multiple keys, but also have different orientations and angles, which would require accelerometers and accelerometers and gyroscopes to code. So using an iterative cycle, I'm currently testing both hardware and software for the gloves I'm creating, and I finished prototype 1. The device uses truth table outputs activated by finger-controlled flex sensors on gloves to produce different notes, which mimics a traditional instrument without requiring a large device. The current prototype, as you can see on screen, is in the process of being affixed to the gloves. It can produce sound for one hand, so you can see 5 fingers over there. It has a 5-row truth table pictured below that can produce 5 different notes. So I could potentially play the song "Hot Cross Buns" on this first prototype. The challenges that I faced in producing this prototype are as follows. One was figuring out the frequencies at which the piezo would vibrate to mimic the notes of a recorder. I had to do some calculation for this because the piezo affixed to the glove vibrates at a different frequency to a piezo on its own, and the instrument has a certain timbre that must be mimicked by the piezo. Another challenge was coding the conditionals and configuring the critical flexion angles of the flex sensors. Make the critical angle too shallow and you'll end up playing a note all the time, but too deep and you'll end up not mimicking the instrument in its entirety. When I play a recorder, this finger does not flex past this point, right? And so if I make the critical angle here, I'm no longer mimicking the instrument. And third struggle was finding and implementing resistors of the correct strength. Too high and no sound would come out, too low and I'd blow through the flex sensors and the wiring. And finally, optimizing the volume of the piezo resistor. This is a speaker. Was a difficult challenge. This is the instrument so far. We got these two. And this is and for the next steps in this project, I'd like to sew the flex sensor into the back. In fact, I've already started sewing the flex sensor into the back of the gloves. I want to solder the wiring into a back-of-hand package, meaning it can be kept on the wrist or the hand to ensure that it can be easily transportable, as opposed to a breadboard, which is very large and obstructive and obtrusive. And I want to construct the right-hand glove and code the subsequent truth table. That will be conditional based on the left hand because the right hand can't play notes on its own. I want to change the piezo so it's able to mimic the timbres of different instruments, so not just a recorder, but an oboe, a bassoon, potentially a violin, a piano, a trombone. I want to add in more instrument types. This is following along the same theme. This would require making new truth table configurations, and for instruments with different styles of playing, such as a trombone, I'd want to add in accelerometers and gyroscopes. For example, a trombone would require the ability to sense whether a hand is here or here, and less so the ability to sense what the fingers are doing. And I want to explore machine learning for the gloves. So instead of prescribing what notes are going to come out based on the finger arrangements, I want to allow them to learn from a musician wearing them. So a musician, potentially a pianist, would put them on and play for 5 hours, and each finger movement or finger positioning arrangement would be recorded by the flex sensors and the accelerometers and gyroscopes, and the note that comes out with that finger arrangement would also be studied. And in this way, the gloves could now mimic an instrumentalist, even without having a certain knowledge beforehand of how it would work. Finally, I'd like to explore larger scale applications and use cases for this device. So these gloves could be used for more than just instruments. They could be used as keyboards on they could be used as sensory inputs for a virtual keyboard. They could be used for people with limited mobility to control the world or control robot arms around them. They could be used as gaming consoles or gaming devices of a new type that we've never seen. The possibilities are endless, and I'm looking forward to exploring them in the future. Thank you very much to listening to my Prototype 1 review. Hopefully I'll be back at the end of semester 2 with the second review.